It was supposed to be a charming Friday morning on Lorraine, where the beloved Dame Judi Dench was invited to talk about her new memoir and upcoming charity play. But what began as a warm interview turned into one of the most shocking moments in morning television history. Lorraine Kelly, smiling brightly as always, welcomed Judi with her usual enthusiasm. "It's such a pleasure to have you, Dame Judi," she said, clasping her hands. "You're a national treasure. I can't wait to talk about your book." Judi, elegant in a soft navy outfit, smiled politely. "Thank you, Lorraine. It's lovely to be here, though I admit, I'm not very good at talking about myself." The studio audience laughed softly. For the first 10 minutes, everything went as expected. They discussed Judi's theater career, her recent health struggles, and her lifelong love of Shakespeare. But then Lorraine brought up a topic that made Judi's smile fade. "So, Judi," Lorraine said carefully, "in your book, you mentioned feeling betrayed by certain people in the film industry. Some have speculated you meant the younger generation of actors, particularly those who, as you wrote, lack discipline and humility. Were you referring to anyone specific?" Judi's blue eyes flashed. "I didn't name anyone for a reason, Lorraine," she said sharply. "It was a general observation, not an invitation for gossip." Lorraine chuckled awkwardly. "Of course, but people are very curious. There's been a lot of chatter about your comment possibly being about actors like Florence Pugh or Timothée Chalamet." Before she could finish, Judi interrupted. "Lorraine, must everything be turned into scandal? This is exactly what's wrong with the media today. You take a line meant for reflection and twist it into controversy." The room grew tense. Lorraine, slightly taken aback, tried to defuse the situation. "I didn't mean to upset you, Judi. I'm just giving you a chance to clear things up." But Judi wasn't calming down. "No, you're trying to stir things up. I came here to talk about art, about the craft I've spent 60 years of my life defending, not to feed a rumor mill." The control room went silent. The producers exchanged worried looks. The camera operators hesitated, unsure whether to keep rolling or cut to commercial. Lorraine, though clearly flustered, tried to stay composed. "Well, I think our viewers also appreciate a bit of honesty," Lorraine said softly. "It's part of what makes you so respected." Judi leaned forward slightly. "Respect isn't built on gossip. It's built on truth, kindness, and integrity. Qualities that seem to be fading from this industry." There was a murmur from the audience, a mix of surprise and admiration. Lorraine's usual warm expression tightened slightly. "I think we can agree that we all want a bit more kindness, can't we?" But Judi wasn't finished. "Then perhaps start with how you interview people," she said, her tone sharp but measured. "You invite guests to speak, then ambush them with speculation. That's not kindness, Lorraine. That's performance." The words hit hard. Lorraine blinked, visibly hurt but trying not to show it. The producers finally decided to cut to an unscheduled break. The theme music began to play, but even as the cameras panned away, Judi's voice could be heard saying, "This isn't what I agreed to discuss." When the show returned, Judi was gone. Lorraine, composed but slightly pale, addressed the audience. "We seem to have had a little misunderstanding earlier. Dame Judi Dench has left the studio, and we wish her all the best with her new book." Social media exploded within minutes. Clips of the argument flooded Twitter and TikTok, with hashtags like #JudiVsLorraine and #MorningShowMeltdown trending worldwide. Some fans defended Judi, calling her a legend who won't be baited by cheap questions. Others accused her of overreacting, saying Lorraine was just doing her job. By afternoon, both women's representatives had released statements. Judi's publicist wrote, "Dame Judi regrets that the interview became uncomfortable. She values open dialogue but believes in maintaining dignity and focus on meaningful topics." Lorraine's team responded more cautiously. Lorraine has the utmost respect for Dame Judi and was saddened that their conversation was misunderstood. Behind the scenes, however, sources from the studio leaked that Judi had stormed out of the set, refusing to do the follow-up press photos. One crew member described the moment, "You could feel the tension in the air." Lorraine tried to smooth things over, but Judi was furious. She said, "I've dealt with real journalists, not morning drama." Then she just left. Later that evening, Judi was spotted outside the London Palladium, signing autographs for fans. When asked by a reporter if she regretted the outburst, she smiled faintly and replied, "I regret nothing that comes from honesty." Meanwhile, Lorraine opened the next day's show with a calm, diplomatic message. "We all have passionate moments," she said. "Dame Judi is an extraordinary woman, and I wish her nothing but love." But behind that practiced smile, viewers sensed that something had changed, a crack in the morning TV charm that wouldn't easily be forgotten. And though Judi Dench had left the set hours earlier, the echo of her words, "This isn't what I agreed to discuss," lingered across screens, sparking debates about respect, journalism, and the fine line between curiosity and intrusion. The following week, the tension from that fateful morning still rippled across British media. Every outlet had an opinion. Some painted Judi Dench as the last true defender of dignity, while others accused her of being too sensitive for modern interviews. Lorraine Kelly, meanwhile, continued hosting her show, smiling as always, though a faint unease seemed to linger behind her cheerful tone. Producers at ITV were concerned. The show's ratings had spiked after the clash, but so had complaints from viewers who thought Lorraine had gone too far. The network's executives wanted to repair the damage, and fast. That's when someone at Good Morning Britain came up with an idea: invite both women for a follow-up interview, a calm, reconciliatory conversation that would clear the air. At first, neither agreed. Judi refused outright, saying she was done with daytime theater. Lorraine hesitated too, unsure if another meeting might only reignite the storm. But fate, as always, had plans. 2 weeks later, both women found themselves unexpectedly booked for the same charity gala, the Royal Hearts Foundation dinner, held at the Savoy Hotel. The event aimed to raise funds for struggling theater artists, a cause both Judi and Lorraine had supported for years. When Judi arrived, the photographers swarmed her. "Dame Judi, will you speak to Lorraine tonight?" one shouted. She ignored them politely and walked inside, escorted by her assistant. Lorraine arrived just 10 minutes later, looking radiant yet cautious, clearly aware of the media frenzy surrounding their possible encounter. Inside, the atmosphere was elegant, chandeliers glowing, violins playing softly. But the air thickened the moment the two women locked eyes across the hall. Guests murmured quietly, sensing history about to repeat itself. Lorraine approached first. "Dame Judi," she said gently, holding out her hand. "I just want to say." Judi interrupted, though her voice was softer this time. "Lorraine, before you apologize, let me." Lorraine blinked in surprise. Judi continued, "I shouldn't have raised my voice on live television. You were doing your job, and I was tired of being misinterpreted. But I shouldn't have taken it out on you." Lorraine's expression softened with visible relief. "You've just said what I've been trying to say all week. I never meant to pry. I truly admire you, Judi. You've inspired me since I was a teenager watching as time goes by." For a moment, the noise around them seemed to fade. Two women, each icons in her own right, stood face to face, not as celebrity and host, but as humans trying to find grace in an unforgiving spotlight. "Perhaps," Judi said with a faint smile, "we both fell into the trap of the industry, one that rewards drama more than dialogue." Lorraine nodded. "And yet, here we are, talking like proper grown-ups. Maybe that's the real interview." They both laughed, easing the last of the tension. A nearby journalist captured the moment discreetly, the two women shaking hands, smiling genuinely this time. Later that evening, when Judi took the stage to present an award, she addressed the audience with her trademark wit. "I've learned something recently," she began, glancing at Lorraine in the front row. "Even after decades in show business, you're never too old to lose your temper, or to say you're sorry." The audience erupted in warm applause. Lorraine stood and clapped too, visibly emotional. By the next morning, the tabloids had shifted their tone. "Judi and Lorraine reconcile at Royal Gala, class and grace return," one headline read. Social media lit up again, but this time with praise. Fans flooded both women's accounts with comments like, "Queens supporting queens," and, "This is how real women handle conflict." Backstage after the gala, Lorraine approached Judi once more. "You know," she said with a grin, "I'd still love to have you back on the show. No gossip, no drama, just tea and talk about the theater." Judi laughed. "If there's tea and scones, I might consider it. But I get to ask you the questions next time." "Deal," Lorraine said, shaking her hand. But I warn you, I can be quite the chatterbox. The two women shared a light-hearted hug, a moment that would later be described as the most heartwarming reunion on British television. Weeks later, Judi did return to Lorraine, as promised. This time, the interview was calm, joyful, and deeply personal. They talked about art, memory, aging, and laughter. There were no sharp questions, no awkward silences, just mutual respect and warmth that filled the studio. As the show ended, Lorraine turned to the camera and said, "Sometimes, television gives us unexpected lessons, about pride, patience, and forgiveness. And sometimes, it gives us the gift of friendship." Judi smiled beside her and added, "Or at least the gift of a second chance." The audience cheered. Viewers at home felt something rare, a sense of authenticity in a world too often driven by spectacle. By the time the credits rolled, one thing was clear: two women who once clashed on live television had turned their moment of conflict into a story of reconciliation. And in doing so, they reminded everyone watching that even in the glare of the cameras, humility and grace never go out of style.